so real, but they don't understand me. I really don't know the deal about a brother.
Here's Johnny.
So, for a lifelong Celtics fan who said this in 2019 when the Celtics had Kyrie on the roster,
let me start off by saying this. Let me give my opinions on the two. Relative to who's going to be the superstar, who's going to be the all-star, who's nicer than who. Listen, if you watch basketball, if you know basketball, and you're sleeping on my nigga Jaylen Brown, stop watching basketball, or at least stop talking about it with niggas. They have similar ceilings. This is how I'm tired of motherfuckers talking about Jayson Tatum is levels above Jaylen Brown. If we could put Juice's aggressiveness into Jayson Tatum, I think Jayson Tatum would be that nigga. If we could combine these two, by your powers combined. If you could put Jayson Tatum's polished offensive game into Jaylen Brown, oh my lord. Kawhi Leonard, nigga, his ceiling's past that. Jayson Tatum in this scenario would be Vince Carter. Jaylen Brown, of course, Tracy McGrady, the late bloomer, the one they didn't think would make it, who ended up becoming a fucking superstar in his own right. I need y'all to understand. Jayson Tatum is going to put on more of a workload. Jayson Tatum is going to take it upon himself to try to become a superstar because we've already placed him on the mantle. Jaylen Brown is going to take it upon himself to try to become a superstar because you motherfuckers said he couldn't do it.
who said this in 2020,
Johnny, hey. What up? By George, I think he's got it. Lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, I hit the fucking nail on the head. Uh-oh. What I predicted has now come true. 4 years later, Jaylen Brown now has handle. Jaylen Brown now can shoot off the dribble. Jaylen Brown can now run the pick and roll. Jaylen Brown can be double teamed and make the right play out of the double team. Jaylen Brown can facilitate. Jaylen Brown can take over a game offensively. They're both growing. We can't say who's better. We can't say Jayson Tatum is the face of this franchise and Jaylen Brown will always be 1B, 2B, whatever the fuck we trying to put him as. We can't say that. They still growing. We got a raw athlete who's made major leaps offensively versus a guy who came in polished already offensively, who's made leaps defensively, who's honed his game. So with that equation in mind, when you got a raw athlete who keeps growing offensively and even defensively into one of the best two-way players in the league, and then you got light skin, who's already one of the best players in the league offensively and becoming one of the better defenders in the league defensively, so he's now one of the best two-way players in the league. The equation you get out of that is a same ceiling.
who said this in 2021,
Brad Stevens. Bradford Stevens. Boy wonder. Boy genius. Golly gee willikers. Brad Stevens has to be, at this point in time, this year, the most overrated, overprotected coach in the league, and it's starting to be just as clear as Bill Belichick's ineptitude without Tom Brady.
So by now, I'm pretty sure everyone's heard about Marcus Smart calling Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown the Jays ball hogs. Was he right? Well, partially. Right for not singling out one guy for the purpose of team chemistry, of course. Because I see a lot of people are starting to hop on the train of Jaylen Brown being the Celtics' best player. Welcome aboard. I started my YouTube channel before either one of the Jays even scored 20 a game. And there's video evidence of me being pro-Jaylen Brown ever since. This year, Jaylen Brown is scoring 27 a game on 50% shooting and 40% from the three-point line, making 10 out of 20 shots and barely touching the ball in the fourth quarter or overtime. Jayson Tatum, on the other hand, 26 a game on 40% shooting, 27% from three-point line, making 8 of 25 attempts a game, the most in the league, in the top of the league in ISOs again, while in the bottom of the league in success rate. Oh yeah, Marcus Smart was talking about a J. Jayson Tatum.
I got corona, diarrhea, eating mostly liquids, spitting mucus in bottles, Gatorades, waters around the clock, and yet, and still, nothing made me sicker yesterday to one, not only watch my Celtics lose another winnable game, but to see boy wonder, Brad Stevens, the nigga who I made a video about last month when the Celtics first went under 500. And what did I say in that video? I said, should we fire Brad Stevens? I don't know. We'll see how the season goes along. And motherfucker, the season has been going along. And you know what?
It's time to get rid of that bitch.
It's time to get rid of that bitch.
I don't got time for this shit. I'm not in the mood for it.
This in 2022.
Jaylen Brown can take over a game offensively. He has no weaknesses in this game.
Jaylen Brown is going to take it upon himself to try to become a superstar because you motherfuckers said he couldn't do it.
People got bananas. Like, did anyone?
I just think you guys
How
are
dare Jeff
underrating.
Goodman suggest it?
For you to say some asinine shit, or rather to agree with some asinine shit from the bitch sucker motherfucker Jeff Goodman.
Reason for the outrage is it just completely ignores the strides Brown has made this year.
Jaylen Brown is your most efficient and consistent player, and has been. Haters, they're gonna hate. Eat a Jeff Goodman, and players, they're gonna quit.
Who's gonna be the superstar? Who's gonna be the all-star? Who's nicer than who?
That Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are, if not comparable, are both stars in their own right.
Listen, if you watch basketball, if you know basketball, and you're sleeping on my Jaylen Brown,
Tatum's not up here. Tatum's not down here.
stop watching basketball, or at least stop talking about it with, because you sound like a twit.
Tatum's not up here. And Tatum's not down here. Season-ending fucking wrist surgery. Of all things. Any fucking day of the week you go, man, Jaylen Brown is unequivocal, unparalleled, unquestionably the leader and the face of the Boston Celtics. My 17-time world championship Boston Celtics.
Faith, consistency, hard work, pays off.
Dennis played great.
My nigga Jaylen Brown.
He played great. Did you know?
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the content, Mr. Viewer. What the fuck is the subscribe button? This in 2023.
As a lifelong Celtics fan born and raised in Boston, the respective narrative attached to Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown irk me. Because even as I weigh the balance of advanced stats, eye test, raw stats, and especially, most importantly for me, mentality when evaluating players, since the beginning of their careers, I've always been pro-Jaylen Brown. Because on the first night of Jayson Tatum's rookie year, when Gordon Hayward got hurt and Marcus Morris was supposed to start at power forward but didn't because of conditioning, and Kyrie barely showed up on his first night back in Cleveland to play LeBron, Jaylen Brown, who was better than all the rest of the guys ahead of him the previous year, his rookie year, but was benched for every single mistake by Brad Stevens. Well, as a starter that first night, his first time starting in meaningful minutes, Jaylen Brown had a game-high 25 for the Celtics in a loss. However, it was then that he showed me his mental toughness and competitive spirit. Speaking of which, he showed it again later in the year, that first Eastern Conference Finals run with Jayson Tatum against the Bucks. First round, game 4, on the Bucks home floor. Again, with everybody barely showing up, Jaylen was the player that night that is pretty much the player you see today on a consistent basis. Now, while he plays along with the he became great out of nowhere narrative, mostly from the media, he always made sure to make the point that his growth has largely come with opportunity. And that should have been very evident in that first Eastern Conference Finals run when Jayson Tatum put up 18.5 a game and Jaylen put up 18 a game. And that was with one less game played. Side note, in 24 games played in their career, Jaylen Brown without Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown has averaged 27, 7, and 3. Those averages only increased without Jayson Tatum since they both became focal points. So that he's only successful because of Jayson Tatum's gravity narrative has to die. But back to that first Eastern Conference Finals run. Sadly, the only narrative that came out of that, besides he's only 19, even though Jaylen Brown was like 20 going on 21, and a narrative getting debunked every day Jaylen Brown's play forces you idiots not to dismiss it, was that Jayson Tatum is the savior of the Celtics. That thought was only exacerbated by him playing with Kobe, or working out with Kobe that summer. The change in his style of play from an efficient spot-up three-point shooter and a guy who attacked the basket explosively off the first step his rookie year, to, from then till kinda now, an inefficient volume shooter who will always produce numbers because in addition to that volume, at 6'9" with more than a 7-foot wingspan, most of his shot output comes from behind the three-point line. Ladies and gentlemen, for doing it for GP, this is your Sports Minute. There's a conversation going on about all NBA player Jaylen Brown balling out in games and not receiving shots late. Me being pro Jaylen Brown since the jump, I noticed the start of the icing out last season, opening night against the Knicks. In previous seasons, Brad Stevens would put the ball in Tatum's hands and Brown had to eat around it, which is why he still efficiently takes his shots when he gets them. Ironically, those blaming him for his not taking shots late also call him a ball hog. Well, that double overtime game, Ime Udoka, who was head coach and stated that there were two pillars, put the ball in Jaylen's hands to the tune of 46-42 at the end of the third. He probably should have had 60, but Jayson Tatum, holding on to top dog status, from that point on went full on Carlton. Second in attempts, of course, Marcus Smart. Familiar. Now perseverate on this stat. In these playoffs, Jaylen Brown has made 7 more field goals than Jayson Tatum on 28 less field goal attempts. Till next time. Ladies and gentlemen, for doing it for GP, this is your Sports Minute. For 2 straight years, the Miami Heat have made both Tatum and Brown's handle look less than their norm, and Jaylen actually had surgery on his left wrist. But after he had the worst game of his career at the worst time, and after a compromised Tatum chose to play 40-plus minutes compromised, further limiting his team space and defense, the same people who lobbied all year for Jaylen Brown to get All-NBA to get the Supermax are all acting after one game that idea and him have always been trash. You cannot say that about Jayson Tatum. What clearly irks me is the guy that's touted as the better player, a position his fans will literally fight you for, gets held to much lower expectations for similar flaws. Most of their game is debatably preference. Neither are elite facilitators or ball handlers, but just as long as Jayson Tatum is better than Jaylen Brown in those areas, oh, he's the MVP and untradeable. Especially the Boston fans and media. Till next time.
This in 2024.
Jayson, 40 points for Jaylen tonight after his heroics in Game 1. What have you seen from him throughout the course of this postseason? How has his game evolved in your view?
I think, the game is just slowing down for him more and more.
We built this shit. You didn't do this shit by yourself.
Do you feel like you're overlooked, slighted?
I watch guys get praised and anointed. I feel like it's half as talented as me on either side of the ball. I get better every single year, and whether people appreciate it or not, it is what it is.
And here's what I mean by Jaylen Brown. Because outside of just the eye test, the numbers back it up as well. For instance, you take a look at Jayson Tatum's career scoring average in the playoffs, and then you take Jaylen Brown's scoring average in the playoffs in that very same time frame. Regular season, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, 23 points a game. Oh, but Jaylen Brown only produces that much because he has Jayson Tatum on the floor. Then, well, take a look at this. Jaylen Brown during the Jays era, without Jayson Tatum, he's scoring 28.3 points per game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and oh look, he's still shooting 51% from the field in that time frame. Jayson Tatum, when he's by himself without Jaylen Brown, not bad numbers either. 26 will round up, 8 will round up, 4 will round up, and that will be on 47% shooting. So what I'm saying here is this. While the media keeps trying to push Jayson Tatum as one of the young guys and this is his team and he's carried it by himself, Jaylen Brown has just as much to do with the Celtics' success in the Jayson Tatum time frame as one Jayson Tatum. But of course, the media needs narratives. Who else that they're comparing Jayson Tatum to has a all-NBA multiple-time All-Star that almost producing as much as them? Because they keep trying to benefit or help Tatum benefit from the narrative of the Celtics' success, but they're not mentioning Jaylen Brown. This isn't Stephen Clay. This isn't Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum. This isn't Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. This duo is more like Shaq and Kobe. It's just I don't think anybody thought Jaylen Brown would be this good because I don't think they've been paying attention.
Jason Kidd is one funny mom.
What makes going against a guy like Jaylen so challenging?
I swear to God. Why does it seem that Jason Kidd has always thought that his attempts to be devious or distract in con man type ways work? And now he tries to put up this little goody two-shoe, higher than thou, namaste, nam yo ho renge kyo. We remember what you did while you were playing us in the playoffs and what you were accused of, Jason Kidd.
This in 2025. All right, mother. Here we go.
All right, motherfucker. What is it? Here it goes. Here we go. Me and you. Me and you.
They got my man Jaylen Brown again, wiping his Beijing off on somebody he's getting busy on.
Bro.
You've been hit by a smooth criminal.
Hating ass Jayson Tatum stan Brian Scalabrine calling him out, of course.
Oh no, Jaylen Brown got another victim right there.
And look, as a Bostonian who's been pro Jaylen Brown over Tatum ever since the inception,
When he wiped it off on the OG of the Knicks, I'm like, damn, they got my man. Embarrassed in New York. Didn't play well and left a f***ing stain. When it happened in Detroit, in the midst of an efficient 41-point game, taking a loss, but putting forth a hell of an effort to carry a G League roster to a win, I said, it. Calling card. Brown just blacked you. Yeah, I said it. So now, that it happens again in a game where he became the first Celtic ever and the 5th guy in NBA history to record a stat line to 35, 5, and 5 while shooting over 50% and in under 30 minutes. Well, he did it in 26, which I believe is the second fastest in history. So basically how I'm looking at it is, I hope one of these gets spotted every game, because that means my man is putting his head down and getting to work, pause. And because the Eastern Conference is extremely weak and the Celtics have been up double digits in every tight game that they've lost, outside the Houston game where they got their asses waxed, Brown has a chance to black you on the way to Eastern Conference supremacy and a most valuable painted season to make Jayson Tatum stands sick. Not fans, Boston resident and media stands. I mean, yes, this year.
They clearly had an agenda. Jay about to win the second MVP with the same move.
He ain't lying. You choked. I thought it was insane to get up there and say Joel Embiid was flopping around and this is the league that we're in now, instead of acknowledging that you choked.
That's some soft ass shit. Shut that soft ass shit up. All that soft talk.
Spark up a stream and started complaining and being the martyr. He has clearly lost the plot.
Fat ass nigga.
Sloppy sucker. You an ugly motherfucker.
So, once again, the unofficial face of the league, the only guy with the balls to consistently call out league politics that play out in real time and spark conversation, Jaylen Brown, has done so again. And once again, media, Celtic haters, Jayson Tatum stands, and apologists alike wish that he would be more Martin than Malcolm.
After watching this morning, it was like watching them at their worst against the Knicks in the postseason last year. It was the same suck philosophy and what makes them unwatchable at times, and they get in their own way. It's jack up threes and too much ISO with Tatum.
Hero Ball. You're vastly superior than that other team. And you play this dumbass offense.
Yep.
That's triggered by Tatum.
I'm a lover. I'm not.
Oh, God.
Perhaps a change to one of their core pieces. And if it were me, I would consider making that change with Jayson Tatum because he has a lot of stink on him for this series, but primarily for his entire postseason resume. I don't understand how this guy avoids the criticism at this point.
Because I'm a punk. That's the answer, bro. Because I'm a punk. Because he's a punk.
So, by now, everybody knows the MO and the mechanics of the Boston Celtics every time they lose in the playoffs or underachieve. Being over-reliant on a three. Live and die by. Once again, while the perpetrator of this style the least on the team gets scapegoated and put in trade rumors, the career-long perpetrator, the one billboarded as the best American player in the world, gets escaped by once again. And we'll talk about it right now. I'm doing it for GP. It's unfortunate that the Celtics chose the pussy.
You can't treat him like any of the other niggas around here because he ain't like any of the other niggas around here.
Never did me, I spit the truth. Call you aware, fear-driven niggas get the boot. All of you squares couldn't fit up in my circle. All of us rare and will hurt you severe. Slow your roll, nigga, patience is a virtue.
Yeah, and a nigga bite any bark. When I black out, how you gon' hide in the dark? And you're sleeping on my nigga Jaylen Brown?